All right, good evening. Welcome to Fate City Hall. Looks like we have quite a full house today. That's exciting. Welcome to our February 2nd, 6 p.m. meeting. Let's see if we've got a quorum. Miss Vicki, are we ready to go?
Yes, sir. We have a quorum present.
All right, what's our next agenda item, please?
Next will be item 2, which is invocation given by James Gilbert with Fame Mission Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the American and Texas flags.
Amen. Can we stand? Okay. Let's bow our heads. Thank you for this time and coming into Black History Month. I appreciate the opportunity to do this prayer. Romans 13:1 says, let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God. And Martin Luther King embodied that by working through authorities. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you and bless you and praise you for everything you've done. Bless our mayor, bless the city council people, bless the support, bless the city workers, bless the officers. Lord God, we're asking for you to be in the midst of this particular community with all that's happening in this world and even in our own country. We need you. I thank you for our mayor and the city council allowing us to continue to do this, to understand that even though they are the governing authorities, you have placed them where they're at. And we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. God bless Texas.
Thank you. Miss Vicki, what's our next agenda item, please?
Agenda item 3A is presentation of Firefighter of the Year Award to Kyler Brommel.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing the time for us to do this. I'm here tonight to honor Kyler Brommel with our Firefighter of the Year. He was chosen by his peers. He's on shift tonight, so I'm going to make it brief that way, in case they get a call, right? So, Kyler has been with us just with the Fate Fire Department for just over a year. He came to us in December, around 28th. So just over a year. Since then, Kyler has proven himself to be an invaluable part of our team. Coming to us from Paris Fire Department as a firefighter, he stepped into a driver-engineer role with our fire department. He stepped into that role with humility, determination, and a clear desire to be the best he could be. Kyler takes his responsibility seriously and holds himself to a high standard every day. He's a man of strong ethics and morals, someone you can trust on the fire ground and in the station. If I had the ability to build a station from the ground up and fill it with employees, I would fill it with Kyler Bramhals. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right back here. Yeah, I'll do one with him without the yeah. Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you. And then we'll do a crew picture real quick.
Well, very nice. Next agenda item, please.
Agenda item 3B, presentation of employee service awards to Hunter Hall, Philip Sandlin, and Tyler Smith.
All right, Mayor and Council, I have 3 of these tonight. 3 service awards, a 10-year, a 5-year, and another 5-year this evening. So we're going to start with the most important first. Lieutenant Smith, the 10-year. He's been with Fate DPS for 10 years. He's been a police officer for 14 of those. He holds a Master Peace Officer certification and a Firearms Instructor certification with a specialty in active shooter instruction. Lieutenant Smith served in our CID department and is now downloading his knowledge from his time in CID back to patrol, where he's managing several functions inside of patrol right now during our transition period. So Lieutenant Smith has been a key part of the department growing and has been here since the very beginning. So he is one of your true tenured employees. So we honor him for that 10-year service.
Congratulations.
I'll give this one.
Okay, and then we'll grab one with the council.
Oh.
In the middle,
Oh, okay.
in the middle. Could you all sit back, please? Thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Hey, wait a second. There you go. Thank you. Okay, our next one is a 5-year service award for Lieutenant Hunter Hall. Hunter Hall came to us from the Hunt County Sheriff's Department. He's been a police officer for 10 years. He holds an advanced peace officer license. Lieutenant Hall supervises our night shift Sunday through Tuesday and every other Saturday. Lieutenant Hall is tasked with one of the most difficult but rewarding tasks in supervision. He supervises and mentors a shift of younger officers and trains them up to be at our high standard. And he has that gift of being able to reach through and mentor the younger officers and make sure that they're doing what they need to do so they can grow and go beyond in their career. So we thank you for your 5 years of service, Lieutenant Hall. There you go. I'm not gonna lose.
One, two, three. All right, got it.
Okay, and our final service award for the PD tonight is Officer Sandlin. Some of you may know Officer Sandlin from running into him in his assigned duty as our traffic officer. So he actually does that very well. He's developed his career over the last 5 years with us to reach the goal of being in traffic, enforcing that, accident investigation, forensic photography. Officer Sandlin is also a mental health peace officer, so he has specific training of how to deal with persons in crisis. And he comes to us from the Hunt County Sheriff's Office, and he has a total of 14 years of experience as well. And he's been in our traffic unit for about the last year, year and a half, and we have greatly, greatly improved the traffic safety in the city due to Officer Sandlin's efforts. So thank you very much for your 5 years of service.
And then we'll grab the council, please. All right, 1, 2, 3. Awesome, got it. Thank you.
All right. That was fun. What's our next item, please, Ms. Vicky?
Next is Agenda Item 3C, presentation by McClendon Chisholm Mayor Brian McNeil and Rockwall County Commissioner John Stacy on the Safe Haven baby box installed at the McClendon Chisholm Fire Station.
Good evening. How are y'all doing?
Doing all right.
So Brian McNeil can't be here, but he brought the fire chief, which is a much better substitute,
Yeah.
I think. Someone
We'll
that
tell him
actually
you
knows,
said that.
someone that can actually answer all the questions. We did install a Safe Haven baby box in McClendon Chisholm. When did it go operational? About 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. Man, I'm in a campaign. It feels like 5 months. So about 3 weeks ago, and this is a company out of the Northeast. And the founder of the company was actually discarded and found in a dumpster and spent her whole career in EMS and went overseas, figured out that these exist and that the alarms work and how to put them together and brought it back to America. And so Safe Haven's goal is to be everywhere so that if someone wants to, because we have the Moses laws, the baby Moses laws, you can legally separate yourself from your child and to give it a safe place to go so that we can stop having babies thrown in dumpsters, because that usually doesn't lead to survivable situations. So that's the goal. So I learned about Safe Haven at a pro-life event, I guess about 2 years ago, and I've been trying to get one in Rockwall County. Ran into a lot of, it's not as easy as you think. There's a lot of rules and requirements that have to go into having one of these in your city. And then when we finally met with Brian McNeil, he almost made it happen in like 2 days. He raised the money. No public money was spent on it. It was all done by private money. So he challenged Andrew at the unveiling, and so Andrew said, you have to come answer the challenge, and I guess he ducked out of that. But to get these in every city in Rockwall County. So it would really kind of start with y'all's permission. It doesn't. I don't know if it has to be direct council action for someone from staff to really engage Safe Haven to see if it even works in your fire department, or even what you're potentially be looking at with your future DPS departments. There's a lot of rules and requirements for privacy, for access, and the building has to be manned 24 hours a day for obvious reasons. We don't know when the alarm's going to go off. So I don't know if y'all have any direct questions, but that is kind of what we were trying to do, is start that conversation to see if there is a desire from the council to move in that direction. The goal for it to be all privately funded, and us just to do a fundraising effort and find a place to put it in Fate, which is most likely your fire station, because that's usually manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, yeah, and thank you, Commissioner Stacy, for that. And yes, Mayor McNeil, I had the privilege of attending that unveiling of it, and he did challenge all the other mayors. And so knowing that our very own commissioner was one of the brain children behind that and was able to get it done, I said, well, come give us a presentation so that we can get excited about doing that too. I think the goal is every city in Rockwall County. And since obviously we can't be first, because the commissioner, Mr. Stacy, where do you live?
I live about a minute from here.
You live right here in Fate?
Yes, I do.
And you
I live
worked
right
really
around the
hard for
corner.
McClendon Chisholm. Okay, we won't hold that against you. But we can be second place. And so I think that would be a lot of fun. So I wanted him to come and just kind of let you guys know we're not taking any action on this today, but I at least wanted to start this conversation. And I see that we have a question or a comment. So Ms. Huffman, we'll start with you.
Would you give us a quick overview of what exactly the baby box is?
You want to do that? Because yeah.
All right, so the baby box is a device that's installed inside of the exterior wall of the station. The mother can walk up to the door, open the door. Basically, it looks like a mail delivery for a large package. She'll open the door, place the baby in. Whenever she closes the door locks. 60 seconds later, timer goes off. It notifies dispatch. Dispatch then notifies us, Rockwall EMS, and CPS for automatic response. Does that
Thank
answer your
you.
question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So it's a safe way to surrender your child, and you know
Yes.
they'll still be okay.
Yes, ma'am. So the way Safe Haven law is written right now, they are eligible, the parent is eligible to turn over the child to police officers, firefighters, but that creates an awkward situation for the parent. There's a lot of circumstances to where they may have not surrendered the child appropriately because they didn't want to have that awkward conversation. This gives them the opportunity to surrender the child and maintain anonymity. There are certain rules, like, excuse me, there are certain, excuse me, there are certain rules, like Commissioner Stacy alluded to, with cameras, privacy fencing, things like that. So.
Yeah, so it's, it isn't something that can just go in your fire station because you have a fire station. There's a chance that they would look at the building and say it doesn't qualify because of different, they have just done a lot of studies on how they're going to be used. And so the idea is it to be a judgment-free, anonymous delivery of a child. So you have to set that situation up that way, or else the mothers will not utilize the boxes.
Mr. Harper?
Yeah, is there like a ballpark figure of what you would have to raise to get one of these in our city?
Probably about $30,000 total. That's about what it cost. All in all, shipping, installation, I mean, it does vary on what the installation would cost. They're about $15,000 to buy, and then the rest is shipping and then installation.
Okay, and I guess there's an age limit. We can't just drop off any kids, right?
You cannot.
Okay, just check.
So, for our situation, we funded this almost 100% with donations. I think ultimately, by the time it was all said and done, the city came out of pocket about $1,500, and that was installation of a hard phone line, because everything we run's wireless. Hard phone line and an auto dialer. I think ultimately, and that was at the very end of this thing, to actually make it communicate with dispatch. All in all, we were about $1,500 out of pocket. I'll also tell you, we received so many donations that we had to reach out to a lot of our donors and request them to split their donations because somebody else wanted to donate and we had already met our total.
That's outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or thoughts by council? Mr. Kovacs?
For the fire station construction, I know I was there, I've been there a couple times, great facility. Do you guys, is it traditional construction or is it tilt wall? Did you guys have trouble getting through the concrete?
So the bays are tilt wall. The main station is traditional steel framing.
So is that where you located it?
Yes.
Okay. We've got a tilt wall fire station, so it's solid concrete.
I will say that Rowlett Fire Department is in the process now of installing theirs, and I believe they're dealing with the same situation. They had a tilt wall, and their installation cost was going to be a lot higher. They were put in contact with a couple contractors that were going to work with them on that pricing, and obviously a whole bunch of people want to donate on this thing.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, well, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. We can cheer for that. That's great.
Y'all be well.
And we'll be in touch about it, I can assure you. Okay, thank you. Our next agenda item, please, Ms. Vicky.
Next is 3D, Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month Proclamation, and we do have representatives present to receive that.
Okay, great. Excuse me. All right. So whereas teen dating violence is defined as a pattern of physical, sexual, psychological, emotional, or economic abuse occurring within a dating relationship among adolescents, and whereas teen dating violence can occur in person or through digital platforms, including social media, text messaging, gaming platforms, and other online spaces, and may involve verbal abuse, threats, coercive control, cyberstalking, harassment, or the non-consensual sharing of intimate images and other technology-facilitated forms of abuse. And whereas national data continues to demonstrate the seriousness of this issue, with research showing that approximately 1 in 5 teen girls and 1 in 10 teen boys in the United States report experiencing physical or sexual dating violence before graduating from high school, and millions of teens each year experience some form of abuse within a dating relationship. And whereas studies indicate that more than half of teens know someone who has experienced dating abuse, yet many victims do not seek help, with fewer than half ever telling a trusted adult or authority due to fear, stigma, or lack of awareness of available resources. And whereas the impact of dating violence extends beyond adolescence, as young people who experience dating abuse are at increased risk for mental health challenges, substance use, academic difficulties, and future intimate partner violence in adulthood. And whereas education and prevention efforts that promote healthy relationships, consent, respect, digital safety, and accountability, along with clear information about the legal and personal consequences of abusive behavior, are proven strategies for reducing teen dating violence and fostering safer relationships now and in the future. And whereas communities, schools, families, and local organizations all play a vital role in raising awareness, supporting survivors, and empowering young people with the knowledge and tools they need to build relationships rooted in dignity, equality, and mutual respect. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2026 as Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month in the City of Fate, and encourage all residents to participate in awareness efforts, support prevention education, stand with survivors, and work together to ensure that all teens can grow, learn, and form relationships free from violence and fear. Come on up.
We'll have you stand back just a little bit so we can get them all in. Yeah, we'll have y'all just squeeze in just a little bit. Do you have more? All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Vicky, next item, please.
Next will be Agenda Item 4, which is public comment, and I've received several requests to address the council, the first being Andrea Olive, address 863 McCall Drive.
Welcome, Ms. Olive.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. My name is Andrea Olive, and I reside at 863 McCall Drive in Fate, Texas. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the recall. There has been an effort to frame the situation as an attack on First Amendment rights or as an issue of hurt feelings related to social media. That is inaccurate. The issue is about responsibility. Elected officials have a duty to consider how their words, especially when shared publicly and repeatedly, impact the safety of the people they serve. When an elected official publicly addresses a highly sensitive and complex issue without full or verified information, presents opinions as fact, and proceeds to name individuals or share personal and professional information, the result is not discourse, it is harm. When those actions compromise public safety, particularly the safety of children, that conduct meets the definition of unbecoming. False statements were publicly made about me by an elected official. As a direct consequence, I received multiple death threats for an extended period of time. My husband carried his firearm everywhere we went to ensure our family's safety. Our 3 sons, who were all at elementary age at the time, began carrying Nerf guns everywhere we went. When we asked them why, they said, "We know Dad is protecting Mom, and if something happens to him, it's our job to protect her." My mother's health rapidly deteriorated during this time. The stress of watching her daughter receive threats to her life caused her to become critically ill, resulting in a significant and rapid loss of weight. The day the same individual attempted to promote a walkout at the high school, my daughter was followed to her friend's car by a group of students who were acting on rhetoric they had seen online. She faced the real possibility of physical harm. Children were put at risk because of words spoken by an elected official. A school phone number was also shared publicly during a regular school day. While children were inside the building, the campus received hundreds of calls from individuals shouting vile and unstable statements at staff. More than 300 calls were taken in one day. 300 calls. There was a very real concern that a mentally unstable individual could escalate from words to physical violence. Staff email addresses were also shared, resulting in teachers and administrators receiving threatening and hateful messages across multiple platforms. This created fear, disruption, and an unsafe environment in a place where children should be protected. Scripture tells us the words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Words by an elected official created an unsafe environment. This cannot be dismissed. This cannot be normalized. I did not come here lightly. I understand the personal cost of speaking out. Backlash is often swift and personal. Facts are distorted, names are called, and truth is reshaped to fit a narrative. But silence in the face of conduct that puts our community and our children at risk is not an option. The response to my words tonight will be telling. A response grounded in reflection, accountability, and humility will demonstrate a genuine commitment to serving our community. A response centered on deflection, disruption, or personal attack will demonstrate otherwise. I pray that each of you uses your position and your God-given gifts to lead with wisdom and care for our community. I pray that your words going forward protect life, foster unity, and reflect the responsibility entrusted to you as an elected official. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Olive.
Next, we have Alan Robbins, address 309 Amos Court.
Mayor and Council, Alan Robbins, 309 Amos Court, speaking on the splitting of the DPS department. About 3.5 years ago, we were having a difficult time staffing our DPS with triple certified officers and decided to go to single cert and then start splitting the department. The document presented in the packet is exactly what me and several others over the council years have been asking for to try and see what that would look like for the city of Fate. We need about 0.7 officers per 1,000 on the police side, and fire, we should be able to respond to 2 calls, and we can do neither right now. Sure, we can continue to escalate salaries and try and get triple certified, but at some point, you're having one person do 2 jobs, and as we grow, as we knock on that 30,000 people population, when you look at other communities around Texas, having 2 separate departments is probably the way to go, and I appreciate the staff presenting the transition plan for that, and I would encourage council to consider that in this next budget cycle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins.
Next is Milford R. Long, address 2263 Bryant Lane.
Welcome, Mr. Long.
Thank you. Good evening. Randy Long, 2263 Bryant Lane. I was sick in bed last week, but watched the meeting online, and after which I felt compelled to respond to some comments. To set the record straight, I speak for no one other than myself. I was and continue to be part of a group of voting citizens who are closely following a process outlined in the Fate City Charter, namely the recall process for an elected official. I do not do things lightly and without following a logical and thorough thought process. I view this as the equivalent of the process of firing an employee, a task I have had to perform way too many times. I take it very seriously. Many contributing facts and factors came into play, and I deemed it not only important enough, but above all justified, warranted, and necessary. I feel that it is important to let the electorate, the citizens of Fate, decide if certain behavior, actions, style, and communications are appropriate and professional for an elected official. While carefully following the city charter process, my personal information, legal name and residence address was carelessly and with apparent malice published on social media. I believe state law calls it doxing. There is no honorable or constructive reason to do this very childish act. To any discerning individual, it was a clear attempt to punish, intimidate, and I assume try to threaten me for exercising my legal rights and participating in the process. If you know me or my background, you would know that this kind of behavior only hardens and reinforces my resolve. It also served to strengthen and validate my initial reasons for participating. Unfortunately, as I have stated before, serving as an elected official is not a 9-to-5 position. Rather, you represent the city and me 24/7 in all of your acts, behavior, and communications. You are the face of the city, and your words, actions, and behavior reflect the same. I tend to be a direct and upfront sort of individual. If I disagree with someone or something, I am happy to sit down face to face and discuss it, not hide behind a keyboard and/or fabricate something. I don't like bullies. I don't respect people who fabricate stories, and I have particular disdain for people who want to intimidate, coerce, or threaten others, either verbally or through actions. One cannot go through life always blaming others and taking no ownership for their behavior. Instead, a mature and well-grounded individual is introspective and self-critical and takes responsibility and accountability. They sometimes even have to fall on their own sword, the same one used to intimidate others. Finally, Mr. Mayor and Councilman Manival, you are anything but cowards in my book. It takes real guts to take on something of this importance, this high profile, and this sensitive. A final note, I really did not know what to expect from the citizens, but the enthusiastic response was both gratifying and sobering. In 6 very short days, we had 400+ engaged and informed voters eager to participate and sign, even in the face of intimidation. It will be interesting to see what a secret ballot produces.
Thank you, Mr. Long.
Next, we have Ryan Strobel, address 231 High Edge Drive.
Welcome, Mr. Strobel.
Hey, good evening, Council, Mayor. First, I just want to start by saying, Ms. Olive, respect your comments. In fact, it's kind of the segue into the context of my message today. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak. I'm here today to follow up on last week's discussion regarding the recall that was initiated by the mayor against a fellow council member. As a resident who does value transparency and accountability in our local government, I feel it's important to address the concerns that continue to grow within our community. Mayor, you recited in your campaign message, "It is fate that brought us here, and it is together that we will move fate forward." That's a powerful message. One that speaks about unity, shared purpose, and collective responsibility. However, the experience of many residents reflects a reality that appears fundamentally inconsistent with that message. When citizens respond to your public posts, for example, whether to offer praise, ask questions, or request clarification, those voices seem to go unanswered, and the silence is noticeable. It isn't until today that I've been made aware of any additional context to this recall. Again, thank you, Ms. Olive. Where's the sense of community that you're speaking of in your campaign message when the community itself is seeking your engagement and receiving none in return? In fact, your campaign messaging, you explicitly state, if there is something referring to an agenda item that you have a question, just ask, and I'm more than happy to provide an answer. We've heard nothing. I also want to give you the pros and cons you mentioned, and to my knowledge, and seemingly to my neighbors, we've not received either, until today is the most context I've been granted. This disconnect comes even more concerning in the context of the recall effort. The public still has not been given a clear explanation of what prompted such serious action. Without meaningful context, residents are left to speculate, and with each passing day, confidence erodes further. A recall initiated by within the council demands a level of openness that so far has not been provided. Mayor, my comments today are directly primarily to you only because you initiated the process. The people of Fate deserve more than broad statements about unity. They deserve communication. They deserve clarity and responsiveness. Community is not built through slogans, it's built through dialogue. It is built through showing up, answering questions, and respecting the public's right to understand the decisions that are going to affect us. I respectfully urge you to provide transparency necessary to restore trust and demonstrate the commitment to the community that your words promise. Fate can only move forward together if its leaders are willing to engage with the people they serve. Thank you all again for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Strobel.
Next.
Hold on one second, Vicki. Jennifer, can I ask a clarifying question? I know with Toma, but to say, I just want to make sure that the public is aware. Saying something was mayor initiated, does a recall against an elected official have to be from an elected official, or can that come from anybody in the community?
So Mayor, we are not posted to talk about the recall process on this
Well,
agenda.
We'll bring that up for you at a future meeting, because I think that it will be very, very beneficial for you to learn some of that. All right, Ms. Vicki, go ahead.
Next, we have Chase McCarthy, address 564 LaGrange Drive.
Welcome, Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. First off, I want to say that I'm grateful to live in the city of Fate, and I'm proud to be raising my family here. I'm here tonight to speak about the conduct I've observed over the past few months that is very concerning and harmful to our community and what we stand for. Our community should not condone political theatrics, drama, and controversy. I've seen a precedent set where each of you can be attacked during public comment, which I thought was prohibited, and I don't think it should be allowed under normal circumstances. I don't think we're in a time of normal, though, and I want to voice my observations tonight and at least get onto the record some of these items that a small group of citizens keep complaining that the recall and its merit are non-existent. I believe the items I'll speak about tonight are important, and the community should know what is occurring. My question will remain, is that the person you want to represent you? This set of facts are really an embarrassment to this governing body and to our city's reputation. And as long as the behavior continues to occur unchecked, I fear it will only embolden the bad actors who are using it to leverage their influence and following. I realize the target that I'm putting on my back by exercising my First Amendment rights. And I would bet I know who will come after me by stating these facts that cannot be refuted due to my evidence supporting me. Why is there a double standard, and how is that justice? How has the integrity of this council been undermined and overshadowed by the behavior of certain city council members? My goal is only to bring attention to these matters for the citizens of Fate and the rest of this council who may or may not be aware of what is occurring in our community. I've witnessed Councilwoman Chin's claims of corruption, injustices, accusations towards others within our community, but only in the confines of her social media. I'm not sure what productive results come from this. I find this very ironic that the person attacking and threatening others can then turn around and claim to be the victim of a targeted effort to cancel her or silence her. I fully realize that many other people could come up here and state what I'm about to state, but they won't due to their fears of retaliation. We've heard that again tonight from multiple people. Just alone, that should be telling. Why would anyone fear retaliation unless there were threats made by this person? I guess I will see if I'm retaliated against following this public comment. To my knowledge, nobody has had their First Amendment rights removed or suppressed by any authority, but that claim has been made by a number of people at the past couple of city council meetings. The facts are that a member of this council has been attacking, threatening, and harassing members of our community, and then has the audacity to turn around and claim they are the victim. This is shameful and unacceptable in my opinion and should not be embraced. We should all seek the truth. Now, that said, I want to begin by saying I believe that healthy discussions and disagreements are a cornerstone of our political process and very necessary at times. Free speech is our method for expressing our value systems that help shape and influence our opinions and how we all live, vote, and pursue freedom in this country. But free speech has limits and consequences. When you spew hateful or demeaning things online or otherwise, you are not helping create a prosperous community. When you bully or harass members of this community, you aren't doing good for our city. In fact, this has the opposite effect and creates animosity, confusion, and division amongst our neighbors. Now, if your agenda is self-serving and you love endless drama and controversy, then your selfish motives do make sense. You would have no regard to others or care what bullying attacks create, because you're creating clickbait to build a following. Your myriad of social media pages provide substantial evidence that this is, in fact, your objective. Our city isn't something that should be wrapped in drama week after week. Yet, according to one of you, we are hopelessly corrupt and riddled with drama, yet none of it can ever be placed on your shoulders because you're always the victim. That victim status helps you get sympathy you are begging for and preys on the emotions of people when they are being manipulated by you. I feel sorry for that, I feel sorry for you, and I pray that you come to terms with how your behavior is impacting this community. Please, we ask you to take responsibility for your actions and understand there are consequences in life. Is what you are doing creating peace, prosperity, justice for our community? We can probably all agree that our political process isn't perfect, but it does help us to propose, challenge, and question issues, and then eventually arrive at a decision point where people are heard and hopefully represented well by those they elected. You don't have to like everything, but respect and the golden rule should be applied. Harassment, bullying, intimidation, and abuse of authority or positional power are not part of your job description as council people and should never be accepted as normal political discourse. This has occurred so much recently that there are numerous people within our community who fear retaliation for any kind of political involvement or opinion. There have been several dramatic accusations made toward other council members and of citizens of Fate, most of which, to my knowledge, are completely unsubstantiated. Quote, I heard this, so I posted it, unquote. Or by trying to expose certain items when they lack the fact that they lack context or key relevant details to understand that little soundbite. To anyone who is unaware of those details would trust you based on your opinion or based on your position to tell the truth, when in fact you know it is a lie and you're counting on nobody to call you out for accountability. Many people don't want to engage in the ugliness of your online trolling and bullying because they would then be the subject of your attacks. And yet, you propose that because nobody is refuting what you're reporting, that makes you the keeper of truth. I've observed incidents of a council member belittling constituents, mocking those constituents, and then turning around and stating that they represent all the citizens of Fate. Well, not me. The numerous threats, using intense language like, quote, you won't make it out unscathed, I'm coming for all your throats, unquote. All is in all caps, by the way. Or LFG, which stands for something, if you know. In numerous posts are inciting and radical. The claims that you may not GAF and then turning around and appear to be so offended by so many things says otherwise. The double standards and contradictions are absurd. The intimidation, whether direct or implied, is disparaging to the positions of the city council. I've heard people say over the past few weeks, well, what did they do to deserve a recall? And said that with condescending disgust, which they're entitled to do. There's a lot I could list if I chose to, but let's just begin the list with political doxing. Willfully aware or not, is illegal. It's wrong, and it's an injustice to the citizens of Fate. Whether you know this or not, doxing is illegal in the state of Texas, and this has occurred. When I hear political candidates say this recall is a bunch of high school BS, it proves how little they understand the law and the consequences of someone's actions. And this doxing is a real fact that cannot be denied by any member of this council. This behavior, among other items, puts our communities and our families at real risk and should not be condoned by any public servant. Clearly, the state of Texas believes this, and it's why they codified this into law. Meaning in Texas, doxing is illegal. If you want to go look it up, Texas Penal Code 42.074 states these actions are against the law. In 2025, the Texas law was amended to include disclosures made through electronic communications like social media. It troubles me that a number of other Fate residents that I've personally spoken with, that a sitting member of this council is doing what actively appears to be doxing. Your conduct and record are on full display while you're council members, whether you agree with that or not, and your actions may lead voters to change their views about their prior vote. Your free speech isn't censored or silenced, but you are ignorant beyond measure if you think your speech doesn't have consequences. Public opinion can change based on a number of factors. So to take the position that because you were elected before, that you are forever entitled to or forever accepted as the infallible representative of our community is absolutely incorrect. There are real consequences for your conduct. And as a representative of our community, I would hope you strive to live by virtue and to represent yourself in this community in the best manner possible. I don't know how making threats, bullying, and lying to the public can be claimed to be a good representation of anything. I find it evil and wrong and would never teach my kids to behave like that. It is my belief that as a public servant, elected
Mayor,
official...
we're 6 minutes past our 3-minute speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. Continue, Mr. McCarthy.
It is my belief that as a public servant and elected official, however you view yourselves on this council, that you continue to work for the improvement and overall good of our community, that you conduct yourselves with professionalism and dignity, and set an example for the many residents, young and old, on how a responsible elected official should behave. Citizens who would like to engage in our local government and get more involved should not have to worry about retaliation or losing their jobs or livelihoods over a difference of opinion with a city council member. This is actually happening here in our city. I would expect all of you to have integrity and to be role models to all the children growing up in our community that are watching you. A person with an inclination to turn to bullying, controversy, dramatic accusations without merit is unfit for public service, in my opinion. When your goal is to build your social media empire on Facebook, X, TikTok, whatever social media platforms you desire,
Mayor, we're now
very
7 minutes
clear.
past the 3-minute limit.
and these are
Thank
my
you, Mr.
feelings.
Harper.
I'm almost done. I realize we won't always agree on everything, and I fully expect folks to have strong opinions, and those should exist in any number of topics. It's your duty to uphold the position you were elected to with honor, with respect for those you represent, and for the dignity of everyone you interact with in all cases, even if they disagree with you. If there are injustices that do in fact need to be discussed or addressed, then do it with respect, in the presence of others, where real conversations can occur, as opposed to the unchallenged monologues on social media that don't have to have any merit or truth and can't be challenged. If these issues are real, what are you so afraid of? Why not be mature and talk about these matters publicly instead of the dark corners of social media, where you don't have to contend with differing opinions? When people question you, you just say horrible things or go attack them. If that is the representative you are and you think your view of the facts is all that matters, then at least you can admit it, and we all understand
Mayor, we're
why
now
you never
8
want to
minutes
engage with
past our
public
3-minute limit.
the people publicly. Instead, you prefer the protection and privacy of your ring-lighted videos, unopposed and authoritative. Can we imagine if all the city council members behaved with this condescending dramatic theater? What would we accomplish? Is this someone you want representing you? In my opinion, this type of conduct, bullying, harassment, belittling, lying, name-calling, deceit, and controversy is totally unacceptable and deeply concerning. Do better. I hope the city council unanimously agrees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy.
Last, we have Melinda McCarthy, address 564 LaGrange Drive.
Welcome, Mrs. McCarthy.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Good evening, Fate City Council and Mayor. My name is Melinda McCarthy, and I am the GOP Precinct Chair in 4D, just so you know. An employee who exhibits behavior contrary to the values and expectations of a company can be terminated. A student who threatens physical harm on other students can be expelled and, in some cases, arrested. The appropriate response to a city council member who has exhibited harassing and threatening behaviors is a recall. A recall is a form of direct democracy that gives citizens the power to hold local officials accountable if there's significant dissatisfaction with their performance, decisions, or conduct. Since joining the recall efforts, of which I will not apologize for, I have been doxxed, putting my safety and the safety of my young children in jeopardy. Doxing, by the way, is a Class B misdemeanor in Texas. I don't think I need to state my address since somebody on this council has already done it for me. On January 10th, 2026, when I was block walking and talking to citizens about the recall effort, a video of me was recorded, sent to a city council member, and posted online. The caption on that video says that Sharon Henson asked me to cease and desist. It's right here. For those who are unaware, a true cease and desist order can be issued by a judge as part of an injunction. This requires filing a lawsuit or application in court. Private individuals, businesses, or attorneys cannot directly issue a binding cease and desist order. Only a court or authorized government agency can. Sharon Henson does not have the legal authority to issue me a cease and desist order for gathering recall signatures, and it is an outright lie to even say that she did so. I spoke with Sharon Henson twice on January 10th, 2026, once over the phone and once over text, and she did not ask me to cease and desist. Her message was quite the opposite, by the way. Why then would a sitting city council member specifically use those words, cease and desist? I have spent hours talking with Fate citizens about the recall efforts, and I've had a mixed bag when it comes to responses. Many jumped at the opportunity to sign, referred me to their neighbors, and prayed for me. For them, I'm grateful. However, just as many told me that they were afraid to sign the recall. I listened to people tell me that they were afraid to even run for public office in Fate because a sitting city council member is ruining people's lives. I listened to people share that they are the sole provider of their families and they couldn't sign the recall petition because their jobs were threatened by a city council member and they needed to provide income and insurance for their children. I listened to people share that they wanted to sign the recall, but they lived too close in proximity to a city council member and they were afraid of retaliation. I listened to people share how they were afraid to even come and comment at city council meetings for fear of being bullied online later. For those last week who were asserting that those of us part of the recall are trying to suppress free speech, I would argue that people feeling that they can't talk in the public square because they've had their jobs and livelihoods threatened is what an actual threat to free speech looks like. Many of you in this room do not know me. I am a cradle Catholic, and I was raised by parents with a strong moral compass. To simply know right from wrong is not enough. It is consistent with my character, even from childhood, to stand up for those who are being bullied, intimidated, threatened, and who have become the subject of public humiliation. I chose to join the recall for these reasons, and I will never apologize to anyone for doing the right thing. You see, I am more concerned with how God sees me than I am with how this city council sees me. I am more concerned with showing my children how to stand up for others when it is required of me than to protect myself by doing nothing. God has not asked me to live a life of comfort. God has asked me to do what is right. I will not be intimidated into silence. As Joan of Arc said, I am not afraid. I was born for this.
Thank you, Mrs. McCarthy.
There are no others that have signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you. What's our next agenda item, please?
Agenda item 5A, this is an application for an amendment to the Infinity Marine Specific Use Permit, case number SUP 25-003. We'll have a staff summary, applicant presentation if needed, continue the public hearing from January 26th of 2026, and then ultimately consider ordinance number O 2026-005.
Okay, will you give us just from last week, will you give us just kind of a summary of what we went over? Because I know you gave your presentation. Can we have that again? Just
Yes,
in a
I'll give you the
condensed
elevator
form?
pitch.
Okay,
How's that?
perfect.
All right.
There we go.
So
That's the
this
word I
is,
was looking for.
Again, this is a amendment to the specific use permit previously approved by the City Council back in 2021 to remove a specific condition of approval that required a line of screening trees along the southern and eastern property boundaries of Brown Industrial Park Lot 5, which is currently housing the newly opened Infinity Marine Boat Repair and Services Center. I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask them. Otherwise, I'll just sit down and let you kind of continue this item.
Okay, thank you. I'm guessing, so there's no applicant presentation?
No, this was a city-initiated SUP amendment. However, the proprietors of Infinity Marine are here tonight. They, of course, have been involved in this whole process, made aware of our efforts to kind of clean this up, and they're here to make any comments or answer any questions you might have.
Okay, questions or comments from council? Okay. So Jennifer, do I need to say we're just continuing the public hearing, or do I need to have a time that we're officially reopening?
So you would just say, I'm continuing the public hearing
Okay.
at 6:55 PM.
Okay, so we're continuing the public hearing at 6:55 PM.
There's nobody that's signed up to speak.
Okay, so we will officially close the public hearing for this item at 6:55 PM. Excuse me, do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we pass ordinance number 0-2026-005.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, next item, please, Ms. Vicki.
Next is 5B. This is an application for an amendment to the Lafayette Crossing Plan Development to update signage standards. And so there'll be a brief explanation and then continue the public hearing and then ordinance number O-2026-006.
Oh my gosh. It's like this is a new computer or something. All right, Mayor and Council. Again, elevator pitch on this one. Lafayette Crossing was an ordinance that was approved back in February of 2023. This amendment is a very surgical amendment to Section 7.2, which is specifically intended to permit pylon signs within the I-30 corridor, which is the area within 400 feet of the center line of I-30. The amendment also limits the number of pylon signs subject to all other signage regulations to 6 along the entire property frontage. This again was intended to support our economic development efforts related to Lafayette Crossing, as some of the early phases of the project are purely commercial, and they support some big box anchored highway serving development, which will greatly benefit from the presence of pylon signs along the highway frontage. I'll leave it at that and answer any questions you may have. A representative of the developer is here tonight as well if you have any questions for them.
Okay, questions from council for staff or the developer? Okay, no questions. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
We will continue the public hearing at 6:58 p.m. from our January 26th meeting.
No one has signed up to speak.
Okay, then we will close our public hearing at 6:58 p.m. And do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance number 0-2024-006.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Okay, next item, please.
Agenda item 5C, this is action to annex 11 properties. And then we'll move to 5C1, which is conduct a public hearing continued from January 26th of 2026 and discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on ordinance number O-2026-007, annexing into the corporate city limits of the city of Fate an approximate 33.27 acre tract of land, legally described as abstract number 83, John Farmer Survey, Lot 1, Rockwall County, Texas, also known as RCAD Property ID 10893, and the proposed annexation of that portion of FM 552 adjacent to said territory.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, for the benefit of the public, I'll go ahead and run through the entire presentation in this case. And again, I'll be available to answer any questions after that. So this again is a kind of bulk action to consider annexations of a number of properties for which previously signed and agreed upon non-development agreements have since expired. And again, I gave the full presentation last week, but I'll be repeating that. So between 2013 and 2015, there were 13 properties that entered into non-development agreements, accepting 2 of the properties referenced herein. The balance, the 11 other properties, are up for consideration for annexation tonight. The public hearing for the other 2 properties was continued to March 23rd, so those will not be subject to the discussion tonight. So again, the proposed action tonight is to annex the 11 properties that were continued to tonight's public hearing. So the non-development agreement signed by the property owners, they serve as a voluntary annexation petition. Quote, the owner and all of the owner's heirs, successors, and assigns shall be deemed to have filed a petition for voluntary annexation. There are copious public noticing requirements for any properties that are going to be annexed. And so I'll summarize those. First, we followed all the noticing requirements that were stated in the Texas Local Government Code, Chapters 43 and 211. First off, we sent a notice of annexation of right-of-way letters to TxDOT and to Rockwall County on November 21st, 2025. There's a 61-day notice requirement for sending letters to those agencies when public rights-of-way under their jurisdiction is going to be annexed. So we sent those out. We also sent a notice of public hearings for annexations to the newspaper, and they were published in the Royce City Herald Banner and the Rockwall County Herald Banner on January 8th and 9th, 2026. We also mailed notices to all of the affected property owners and service providers, including utilities, school districts, special utility districts, and the like, on January 14th, 2026. These were all the legal noticing requirements having been met. And we submitted all those notices on or before the required timeframes for the notice requirements. Another aspect of the annexation that we're required to discuss in the public meetings is the service plan. And this basically outlines the services, the municipal services that the city is agreeing to provide, or at least make available to properties following annexation. So municipal facilities and services to the annexed area will be provided or made available in accordance with the following plan. And again, this plan is attached to each of the ordinances under consideration tonight. The city shall provide the annexed tract the levels of service, infrastructure, and infrastructure maintenance comparable to the levels of service, infrastructure, and maintenance available in other parts of the city with similar topography, land use, and population density. Service provided by any method or means by which the city provides municipal services to any other areas of the city, including the city's infrastructure extension policies, and may include duties on part of the private landowner with regard to such services. So upon annexation, the city, as part of our standard service plan, would agree to provide or make available the following services: fire, police, and EMS, planning, zoning, and building regulation and services, public access to publicly owned parks, facilities, and buildings, stormwater utility services, streets, water and wastewater, solid waste services through our contract, and then code compliance enforcement. So, continuing on, nothing in the service plan requires the city of Fayette to provide a uniform level of municipal services to each area of the city, including the annexed areas. If there are different characteristics in topography, land use, or population density, those are a sufficient basis for providing different levels of service. Prime example, if a property is served by an on-site septic system at the time of annexation, nothing in this agreement compels us to suddenly build a sewer line all the way out to this far-flung piece of property as soon as annexation occurs. The City Council finds and determines that the service plan will not provide any fewer services and will not provide a lower level of services than those in existence in the area to be annexed at the time preceding the annexation process. So that concludes my overview of the annexations. I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Questions or comments from council? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so at this point, we will continue the public hearing from our January 26th meeting at 7:05 p.m.
And Mayor, just to be clear, you'll have to continue each of these public hearings separately and then take a vote. So I assume you're continuing the public hearing for ordinance 2026-007.
Do I need to state that just to be clear?
Well, I think just to be clear.
Okay, absolutely. No, that's a great idea.
Or you could say C1 or whatever, but just so it's clear.
Perfect. Yeah, okay, so this will be continuing the public hearing from January 26th at 7:05 p.m. for item C1, ordinance number 2026-007.
I have nobody signed up to speak. A gentleman did, while I was talking to the city attorney, mention he's in the audience, so you might just ask if there was anyone that was wanting to speak during these annexation proceedings, just to make sure that they didn't know the process.
Perfect.
For you know what I'm saying.
For each one of these? Okay, yeah,
I would,
we can
just to
absolutely
be
do
safe.
that. Perfect.
Nobody signed up, but just to be clear.
Okay. Sure, that's a great point, thank you. Would anybody like to speak during the open public hearing section of this, this agenda item? We'll do it for all of them, but this agenda item right now. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 7:06 for item C1. Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we close the hearing. I'm sorry, that we adopt ordinance 2026-007.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Are you?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, you're looking right at me with your mic light on, so I'm thinking, man, I don't want to do this wrong. Okay, no discussion? All right, vote please. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item, please, Ms. Vicki.
Next will be 5C2, which is conduct a public hearing continued from January 26th of 2026 and consider action on ordinance number O-2026-008, annexing into the city corporate limits of the city of Fate approximately 13.73 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 83 John Farmer Survey, Tract 1-1, Rockwall County, Texas, RCAD property ID number 51577, thereby extending the boundary limits, amending the official city map, and providing other matters related thereto.
Thank you. So we're going to continue the public hearing from January 26th for item 5C2, ordinance 2026-008 at 7:08 p.m. Do I have anybody signed up to speak, Ms. Vicki?
No, sir.
No? Would anybody like to speak on this action item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:08 p.m. And do I have a motion?
I make a motion we pass ordinance number 0-2026-008.
Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
Next will be 5C3, conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and consider ordinance number O-2026-009, annexing into the city of Fate approximate 28.44 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 163, J. Miller Survey, Tract 15-03, Rockwall County, Texas, RCAD property ID 91084, and the proposed annexation of that portion of 552 adjacent to said territory, and approximate 2.48 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 163, J. Miller Survey, Tract 15-02, Rockwall County, Texas, RCAD property ID 90314, thereby extending the boundaries of the limits, amending the official city map, and providing for matters related thereto.
Thank you. So I will now continue the public hearing at 7:10 p.m. This is a public hearing continued from January 26th for item 5C3, ordinance number 2026-009 at 7:10 p.m. Ms. Vicki, do we have anybody signed up to this?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Did you tell me earlier none for any of these that are signed up, so just ask the public for that?
Correct,
Okay.
yes, sir.
You tired of me asking you for every single
No,
one?
not at all.
Thank you. Would anybody like to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:10 p.m. And do I have a motion from council?
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance number O-2026-009.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, Ms. Vicki, next item, please.
5C4, conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and consider ordinance number O-2026-010, annexing into the City of Fate approximate 15.0 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 178, Joseph Parker Survey, Tract 3, Rockwall County, Texas, Rockwall CAD Property ID number 12197, and the proposed annexation of that portion of State Highway 66 adjacent to said territory, thereby extending the boundary limits, amending the official map, and providing for matters related thereto.
Thank you. We'll now open the continued public hearing from January 26th for item 5C4, ordinance number 2026-010. We'll open that hearing at 7:11 p.m. Anybody in the audience wishing to discuss this item? Yes, please step forward. And then just state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is, I'm going to give you two names. Paul Jones Fisk II. I go by Tony. So my address is 18 Kenton Court in Heath, Texas.
Okay.
Okay. The reason that I wanted to address this is one of the concerns that I have. I received the notice of annexation. Let me take a step back. My father, my brother and I actually own this parcel of property. And adjacent to it, to the east side, is an 88-acre parcel of property that he and I own. We inherited it whenever our parents passed, about 7 years ago. So that's whenever we learned that he had signed a non-development agreement with the City of Fate, and knowing that it was in the ETJ of Fate. Just for the record, the 88-acre property that's on the east side is in the ETJ of Royce City. Okay, and as we all may know, the outer loop is planned to come around and take a portion of that property. So one of the concerns that I have, and I've not had the opportunity for due diligence, is duties whenever a property is annexed, to understand the duties of that's to the private landowner that you were talking about. And so I don't understand what those duties are. And because of that, I'm just asking that I get another week or whenever the council meets the next time so that my brother and I can do a little bit more research as it relates to that. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wells, are you, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. What are you, were you taking notes, or can we provide what he's asking for specifically?
Are you asking right now, or?
No, like, is that something that we can get to him in a short amount of time?
I can work with the city attorney.
Okay.
So let me just be clear that when you annex a property into the city, the property is treated like other properties that are in the city. So I'm not sure I even understand what the question is. But certainly, I guess Ryan could follow up, but you are treated like other properties in the city for purposes of taxes, for purposes of, now, at a future time, y'all will decide the zoning on this property. But I don't know exactly, and maybe Michael's looking at me like I should know.
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest, and I don't know if your concern is that you're going to be split by two cities eventually, because that is that we're actually working with Royce City on a boundary change agreement, so maybe that's it's not related. No, okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Ryan, I'm watching Ryan's facial expressions.
I don't know if I'm allowed to talk since I already spoke, or is this?
No, you are.
Okay. Yeah, I think because of the outer loop, there's enough question in my mind that there's private landowners have duties, and as private landowners have duties, what are those duties of the private landowners? I understand that we would have city services, and I understand, my brother and I both understand that we would have an increase in property taxes, but this is, of course, farmland, and we have it foraged out to people that are growing forage crops on it.
The best part is you don't lose your ag exemption.
True. And, it wasn't a concern, by the way, whenever we were kind of uncovering Dad's materials. We weren't concerned, by the way, about, we couldn't understand why he actually signed a non-development agreement, because it wasn't to save city taxes on farmland. It's $5 a year. So that's why I want to make sure that I just have an understanding related to private landowners' duties. And whenever I saw that, I said, okay, that could be something that I have a concern about.
Yeah.
Mr. Wells?
Yeah.
I think I could probably just succinctly summarize to what Jennifer was alluding to. It doesn't change, it doesn't differ any from what any other property within the city includes or is responsible for. Essentially, I think the main change is you're subject to the rules and regulations of properties within the city versus what you're subject to when you're an unincorporated property, or in the case of the ETJ, the interlocal agreement between the Rockwall County and the City of Fate. There are no other really major changes other than what was already cited, taxes. Ag exemption doesn't make that big of a difference. We do have some regulations related to agricultural activity, but if you're growing forage crops, that's not going to be affected. It's really the duties are the responsibility to follow the laws adopted by the Fate City Council that apply to all cities, all properties uniformly within the city limits. I think that's really...
Yeah, I think I would be most, and I don't know the property, but I know the family is a good family. And so I've heard this name many times, so this is good. You have a good reputation. But I think as long as you've got, if you had structures that were substandard structures, clearly dilapidated, that could be code enforcement or health issues. But otherwise, there's not really a lot to be worried about, essentially. So I think
then if I'm allowed to speak, let's just withdraw my request to postpone it for another week.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Were you? Okay, you're good. You're good. Okay, just want to make sure everybody knows what's going on. That's important. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and Mr. Wells and Mr. Kovacs and Ms. Ritchie, thank you very much for all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, anybody else wishing to speak on this action item? Okay, we will close the public hearing at 7:18 p.m. And do I have a motion from council?
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance 02026-010.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item, please, Ms. Vicky.
Next will be 5C5, which is conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and consider ordinance number O-2026-011, annexing into the city an approximate 20.0 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 120 R. Irvine Survey, tract 11-01, Rockwall County, Texas, Rockwall property ID 11195, and the proposed annexation of that portion of FM 3549 adjacent to said territory, and approximate 30-acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 120 R. Irvine Survey, tract 34-06, Rockwall County, Texas, RCAD property ID number 83531, and the proposed annexation of that portion of 3549 adjacent to said territory, thereby extending the boundary limits, amending the official city map, and providing for other matters related thereto. And this is an item that we have an abstention affidavit on file for Ms. Huffman, and that is why she has removed herself from the dais.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we'll continue the public hearing from January 26th for action item 5C5, ordinance O-2026-011. We'll open that at 7:20. Do I have anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:20 p.m. And council, do I have a motion?
motion that we pass ordinance 02026-011.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Okay, the motion passes 6-0. Do I need to make any kind of announcement on Ms. Huffman's abstention for this purpose, Ms. Vicky, or do we have all that covered?
No, sir,
Just
we're
6-0?
good.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
perfect. All right, thank you. Next item, please.
5C6, conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and consider ordinance number O2026-012, annexing into the corporate limits of Fate 31.743 acre tract of land, legally described as abstract number 120 R. Irvine Survey Tract 34-01, Rockwall County, Texas, ARCAD property ID 11227, and the proposed annexation of the portion of 3549 and State Highway 66 adjacent to said territory, extending the boundary limits, amending the official map, and providing for matters related thereto. This is another item that Councilwoman Huffman has recused herself, so that's why she's not at the dais.
You enjoying your break down there, Martha? Okay, I'm going to open back up our public hearing continued from January 26th for item action 5C6, ordinance number O-2026-012 at 7:22 p.m. Would anybody in the audience like to speak on this action item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:22 p.m. Do I have a motion from council?
I'll make a motion, we approve 0-2026-012.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please vote. The motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
5C7, conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and consider ordinance number O-2026-013, annexing into the city approximately 16.225 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 120 R. Irvine Survey Tract 34-07, Rockwall County, Texas, Rockwall CAD property ID number 83532, and the proposed annexation of the portion of FM 3549 and State Highway 66 adjacent to said territory, thereby extending the boundary limits, amending the official map, and providing for matters related thereto. This is also another item that Councilwoman Huffman has recused herself from.
Okay, thank you. We will continue the public hearing from January 26th for action item 5C7, ordinance 2026-013. We'll open that at 7:24 p.m. Would anybody in the audience like to discuss this action item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:24 p.m. And do I have a motion from council?
I make a motion that we pass ordinance number O-2026-013.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. All right, Ms. Vicky, next item, please.
Item 5C8, conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and take action on ordinance number O-2026-016, annexing into the city of Fate approximate 109.738 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 32, JLM Baker Survey, Tract 9, Rockwall County, Texas, ARCAD property ID number 10359, and the proposed annexation of that portion of FM 548 adjacent to said territory, thereby extending the boundary limits, amending the official map, and providing for matters related thereto.
Okay, so we will open the public hearing continued from January 26th. This is for item 5C8, ordinance 2026-016. We'll open that up at 7:25 p.m. Anybody in the audience wishing to discuss this agenda item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:25 p.m. Do I have a motion from council?
I'll make a motion, we pass ordinance 0-2026-016.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. The motion passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, Ms. Vicki, you're doing such a great job. I want to hear one more. How does that sound?
5C9, conduct a public hearing continued from January 26, 2026, and consider ordinance number 2026-017, annexing into the city limits an approximate 16.18 acre tract of land legally described as abstract number 120 RB Irvine Survey, tract 30, Rockwall County, Texas, RCAD property ID number 11222, and the proposed annexation of that portion of FM 3549 adjacent to said territory, extending boundary limits, amending the official map, and provided for matters related thereto.
Okay, thank you. So we will open the public hearing continued from January 26 for action item 5C9, ordinance 2026-017. We'll open that up at 7:27 p.m. Anybody in the audience wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:27 p.m. Do I have a motion from council?
I make a motion, we pass ordinance 2026-017.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Agenda item 5D, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding the South Bend Payne Road widening project.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a great topic. I know we've talked about the thoroughfare plan. We've seen a lot of progress on roads the last few years. We finished the bond program. Essentially, we've got a little bit of money left over, not a lot, just a little bit. And we're going to talk about tonight Bend Payne. The county has initiated a bond sale. The Commissioners Court's given them the go-ahead. They're going to sell $50 million in county bonds that were authorized several years ago. And one of those projects, we're happy to report, is their intention is to use some of those funds to help the city with the cost share on Bend Payne Road. This is a city road, and they're suggesting that out of their total to commit currently $10.3 million, which we're of course we've seen the escalation of these costs, and we're perhaps a little bit paranoid because we've gone through things like seeing Wood Creek Boulevard bidding, how that came in over budget. We've seen some of the different costs per mile. We've done a couple developer deals the last couple roads, so North Bend Payne and then Gettysburg were done with this developer cost share type arrangements where we were able to get reduced costs through that process. But this would be a public bid, so we would design it. Kimley Horn, the city's engineer, it would be a contract with the city to design the road. Y'all would help us with the cross-section as far as what that road wants to look like, whether it's a traditional Wood Creek cross-section. We call it the Wood Creek cross-section, so typically you go look around CD Boren and some of the other roads around in Wood Creek, what that looks like, or if we're going to do more of a condensed roadway, so to save a little bit of money perhaps and a little bit of right-of-way. So we've got, we want to talk about the project and give you all a chance to take a look at the finances. We believe we can avoid debt, which is great. We don't like debt if we can avoid it. It's a conservative principle, trying to avoid that sort of thing. We've got some leftover, speaking of debt, we've got some leftover bond money that we are proposing putting in. We could, of course, use that downtown. That's another great place for economic development to further some of the grid enhancements in downtown as we see different projects coming. But currently, we've got to use that money fairly quickly because if you let money sit in a bond account, IRS eventually comes and asks for some of the interest back. So we don't want to do that. We want to spend it. So we've got some, so out of the $20 million, if you go to the second page on the document in your packet, if the cost is $20 million, we're hoping it's going to be less than that. Then we're proposing 1.5 from the remaining bond issue funds from the last road bond, the 21 road bond. We've got roadway impact fees. We've got several $1 million in there. Above this, we've got, of course, the big ask in the budget this year. Y'all have just awarded a contract for Miss May extension. And so Miss May and King, the school district's doing King, but it's one big project. Our portion is Miss May. So that is, we've got some funds in excess of what is needed here. So you see that 3.7 million from the roadway impact fee. And then the water impact fee, because we're moving water lines in Ben Payne, the portion of the water fee, we think we can use roadway impact, or water impact fees, my mistake, water impact fees. So there's a portion in the commercial area where we're doing essentially new water line. And so that is on the water impact fee project list. So we're able to use water impact fees for that water line. So that's 2 million. And then the water capital replacement fund, we're moving a water line on the top, essentially on the north section, north of the tracks. So we know we've saved money for capital replacement, which is fantastic. And this is a great, we didn't expect to maybe use it this quickly, but that's why we do this, right? So we don't have to sell debt. So we've got cash in the water capital replacement fund that we could also tap for this. And then, of course, the county coming in really makes the project work. So if the cost is 20 million, the county's 10 million really makes a difference. And if y'all like this mix, we can talk about the funding mix. Of course, this is our intention. As we get closer in, we'll bring you official documents. There may be budget amendments required because we didn't include this in the CIP or the budget. At the time when the budget was coming together, we didn't know what was going on with Ben Payne. There's a lot of talks going on, but nothing definitive, so it didn't make it into the CIP or the budget. But we'll have to bring you back documents for CIP amendments, which is the capital improvement program, and the budget, some budget amendments in the different funds to make it all work. But yes, very exciting. Ben Payne. We're going to have a brand new interchange at I-30 and Ben Payne. And we've got a nice, beautiful, completed north of 66, Ben Payne all the way up to the north there, all the way to Montera. So this will complete that section, and looking forward to being able to take some pressure off 551. If y'all have driven 551 lately, it seems like every year there's just more people, and you're like, where are these people coming from? They're coming from Wood Creek, they're coming from the counties and the rural areas to the north, and they're trying to kind of figure out their closest way to get to the highway. So the more north-south connections we can create is great. And then, of course, the economic development. We had the developer from Lafayette Crossing here. There's a western part of Lafayette Crossing, which is more industrial tech park sort of stuff. So as we put that, as the state puts the interchange in on the interstate, of course, we've got rail there, right behind it, and then now we'll have a 4-lane road. This is some of our different economic prospects that have come to visit us over the last 2 or 3 years. They've looked for this property, and they said, boy, this is a great location, but I wish I wish you had this road in, and then it would have been a better look. It would have been more competitive with other economic development prospects. But of course, we're picky too. We don't just want any kind of manufacturing. We want quality. So this enables us to get the interchange in. Interchange is already going, but this is essentially our portion to get that road built. So we'd like to give you a chance to discuss the project, perhaps the funding or the cross section. There is some property required from the western property owners, and that's always tricky sometimes to get property, but we can work together on the design and see how much property we actually need and try to minimize if we're concerned. If the property owners are really, really concerned about how much property they lose, then we can try to minimize the property loss.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kovacs. All right, discussion or questions from council? Mr. Kelly.
Michael, and this is just more of a memory refresher as it relates to Miss May. We've got some property involved in that we're going to be putting back into the market at some point. First question. Money coming out of the road impact fee. What is for this project? What is that going to do to our road impact fund?
The fund is in pretty good shape, I would say. Regiu, we've got We just took a look at the financial report for, in fact, I brought it with me. You'll see this coming up. But we've got almost $8 million, last I looked. Of course, we've got a cash flow Ben Payne. We've got a cash flow the Miss May. So we're in pretty good shape with roadway impact fees. We couldn't do another significant project with cash, but we're in a good spot.
So as it relates to those properties along Miss May, that once Miss May is completed and we turn around and sell or develop those properties, where are the proceeds from those properties going to go? Do they have to go back into the impact fee?
No, they do not. They could go into your general revenue. So what would happen is you initiate those auctions or however way you legally dispose of the property in the most advantageous form for the city. Those funds can be placed in the general fund and sent to whatever so we could use it to pave streets. We could build parks, we could buy fire apparatus, or basically any public purpose. So those would be general revenues.
Okay. As it relates to timing, you bring us back paperwork in April or May to approve this, what sort of time frame can we, I know one of the big questions on other roads is just, once we approve something, we want to see shovels in the ground the next day. So what does that time frame look like? Are we looking at about a 2.5-year project?
It's probably, I would say 3. Yeah, design will probably take a year, maybe a little bit less. We have to work with the railroad. So we have to get a railroad, yes. And we know how much fun that was with Wood Creek Boulevard. Right. And we hired a rail consultant to help us do that, and that was effective, but it was still a long process. So I think because of the railroad piece of this, it's probably going to be 3 years. So we're going to have unfortunately, we're going to have the interchange complete, and then the road will go under construction. But I think that's...
What's the timing on the interchange? Late 27, early 28?
Yeah, it just kicked off. If they stay under their, end of 28. End of 27, sorry, end of 27, if they stay on schedule, which is doubtful.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So, quick question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Huffman.
When you say interchange will be complete, but the road won't, it'll be accessible, but with the current construction?
Right, so we'll have an interchange. TxDOT will build so you can get on and get off ramps, this whole thing, the lights. You'll be able to go underneath. So Rochelle, Ben Payne, except it'll be the old Ben Payne. It'll be the 2-lane Ben Payne until we can get it constructed. But some folks may say, wow, you should have built that earlier. Well, but we didn't want to use our own money to build it earlier, right? So we could now we've got a partner. It was worth it. In my opinion, it's worth the wait to get the county to pay potentially over half the cost. So sometimes, we work with the partners, it takes a little bit longer, but I think it'll be a good project. And
Okay, perfect. Mr. Harper.
A couple questions. You said we're good as long as we don't have any other big projects. Do you see any other large road projects coming in the short term that we would have to go into debt for?
I would think the only other, because we've got the Eastern Lafayette Crossing figured out with that economic development agreement as far as the connector roads. I would think, and then feel free, Scott or Ryan or Steve or Stephen, anybody feel free to jump in. But the only one I could see that we may want to have some sort of a partnership is that western portion of Lafayette Crossing. So you leave as you leave the traffic circle at Wood Creek Boulevard, and you go, there's a road that will go west to connect into Ben Payne. So that, if we had a big enough user come to us and say, hey, I'd like to build this or that, but I need a road, that could be a multi-million-dollar operation. So we may not be able to fund that, but if that happens in a few years, and we've got enough impact fees starting to build back up again, we might be able to build it with cash.
If I may, Mr. Kovacs, just as a reminder to the council, that western road is currently subject to a roadway impact fee credit agreement. So the eastern went under that 380 agreement. That's no longer eligible for impact fee credits. The western side remains under the original agreement approved by council. And so that's currently the incentive available to the developer for that western half.
Okay.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Mark? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a clarifying question on that. But the PD requires the developer to build that western part of that connector
Right.
in order to do any development.
There are
So right now, that's
timing benchmarks in the PD related to development on that western half. That must be after that roadway
So,
is
so
complete.
then our involvement, if any, on that section of road would be if we wanted a wider road than what they might want to put in, or what's required to be put in.
Right, or if you had,
Or if we wanted to accelerate.
Right.
sure,
that road.
accelerate, if you had a user that you wanted to push it forward, and there was a cash flow issue with the developer, typically the ask
Yeah.
coming from the industrial user, let's say, will be, can you help with this road? Not necessarily that you have to pay for it, but, so that's not uncommon, we've heard that before.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. So the second part of this I had was, I heard you say something about narrowing or something. This thing is going to be a major offload of traffic of 551, and I don't think we should, I know it may save us a little bit of money, but I don't think we should narrow the roads to the point where people don't take it and still swing down to 551. It's just not, I mean, it's not going to serve the purpose that we want if we don't make the roads wide enough to push that traffic.
Right, I think even Ryan's alternative cross-section is 12-foot lanes. We still have 12-foot lanes in those. We don't have any 11s. Like Wood Creek Boulevard's skinny, it's got an 11-foot.
Yeah, the reduction in the width of the cross-section came from reducing the median width, which was very, very wide. I think
Okay.
it started at 30 feet. And then some of the frontage treatments, particularly on the western side, we wanted to minimize that so that, again, our intention was to reduce to the extent possible any of the impact on the western property owners along that right of way.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Manival.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something. On the total estimated is 20 million, and the county provides 10.3, and the City of Fate funding is 9.7 million. If we did come in, if we were lucky, fortunate, blessed, and it came in less, whose obligation reaps the savings? Is it the county, or would it be us?
I think that would be something we probably have to talk with the county about that. I'm sure they would ask for, if they had another project that was hurting for funds, they would probably come to us and say, hey, could we split the savings? Of course, we'd like to say it would just come out of our, one of our buckets that's the most needy. But once the county committed our funds, and sometimes the county or other governments, they will send you your package and they say, this is what you get. Build it. We don't care what it costs. If it's 25 million, that's your problem. If it's 15 million, there you go. So we'll just have to ask them. I imagine it would depend on what else is going on with the county and if they needed help somewhere else. Sure, and we can put that in an interlocal at some point.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions from council?
Mayor, one other thing I was thinking about, Michael and I have met with the county multiple times on this. While they are being good partners to help the city get this built, they also see this as a large economic driver for the county, as there's this developable land along a rail and an interchange. So as the county is equally interested in economic development as we are, part of their coming to the table is they want to help spur economic development in this area. So I think they are wanting to help us. They think it's good for us, but it's good for them as well. So we all win with this development project.
One of the pitches to the county was several months ago, if you're going to spend $10 million or whatever it costs, if you're going to spend whatever, this is the place you spend it because there's people here. It's going to get a lot of traffic use. It's going to spur economics rather than, let's say, building a road to wherever, a road to nowhere in the middle of the county. That will spur potentially home development, which will rise costs for the county. So I think the county is quite wise, and it speaks to the city's your support of economic development and our track record to do economic development.
Ms. Huffman?
Have we started any conversation with the property owners? I mean, do we have a feel of how this is going to?
I don't think so. Only Avondale. So Avondale's committed, they've given their right of way
Okay.
for
And
the
when
project.
do we start that conversation then?
We would probably start, I'm looking over at Steve because he's, Steve and Scott. I think once we have everything put together, so we're gonna need a number of things to kind of initiate this. Once the county's got money in their hand and we've talked with the county, we'll coordinate some of those things with them. But I would imagine, just a guess, over the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll start making contact with the property owners. We need a survey. We've got some conceptual designs, and so the conversation will begin with the property owner. Sometimes that goes great because they'll be like, they struggled to maintain, there's a ditch along the western side, and that'll get piped as far as a piped stormwater system, so they won't have to maintain that ditch anymore. So they should be, they'll be happy about that. They'll be unhappy about potentially selling us property that they may not want to sell us. So it'll be a kind of a mixed bag of how people react.
And I'd say, Mayor and Council, I know y'all are aware because you've been through this, but for anybody in the public hearing, we absolutely pay fair market value at least. There is no, when we say taking or obtaining land, it's not by, we pay fair market value for it. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or thoughts? So as far as the action requested for the preparation of a resolution and any related documents for an upcoming council meeting, is that you're good to go ahead and move forward with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you're in acclamation.
Any reason, council, that we don't want that to happen? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Ms. Vicky, next item, please.
Next is agenda item 5E, excuse me, which is discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding the reorganization of the Department of Public Safety to establish separate police and fire departments.
All right, we last talked about this a few months ago back in, gosh, was it October? November? November 10th. Excellent. Well, thank you, sir. So we talked about this and we said we would be coming back, and here we are. And just out of consideration for your time tonight, not knowing how long the annexation public hearings were going to go, we did not put together a big presentation. However, as you noticed, the staff summary that Omar helped put us together, and of course the plans that the captains put together, there's quite a bit of information there. We've tried to outline kind of what we've seen as far as what the captains see from both the police and the fire side. And the charter requires the council, I cannot do this part, but you all have this power if you want to do a reorganization, in which case, right now we have one box that says DPS, and your blessing is needed to create two boxes essentially from that, one that would say police and one that would have fire. And so this is your power to do that. We would bring ordinances at the next council meeting that would change some of the wording from DPS and we'd create a separate, it's basically very simple, creates police and fire. We have fire units. But this is just, these organizational charts and plans are kind of how we see where we are today and perhaps where we would grow in the future, and wanted to kind of reintroduce this topic for your discussion and see if it's time. We think both the captains, we believe it's time that that's go ahead and start this process, and then that way we've got things like we can start recruitments. If we have a police chief recruitment that we need to launch, it also would help us as far as the budget process. The department starts submitting budget requests in April, and that's not too far away. So with all that, we wanted to hand this over to you for your discussion and let you decide what you like to do.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with this just so I can ask, what typically, and I know it can change for a variety of reasons, but what typically is the timeline for once you're starting to look for like a police chief and you bring one on board? Is that a 60-day process? Could it be longer? What typically are you looking at there?
Sure, and we got a proposal from SGR to do a public search.
90 to 120? Okay.
Yeah, then you've got to.
At least?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Okay.
Then you've got to get, persons typically got to give notice, and sometimes it's 2 weeks, and sometimes they ask for a month, or they have a vacation planned, or all sorts of things. So at another month as far as getting somebody in the office.
Okay. All right, other thoughts from council? Mr. Kelly?
First off, appreciate all the detail that was in the packet. There's a lot of information in there, clearly a lot of thought put into it. The only thing I would say as it relates to if we proceed with creating the two departments is to be very conscious of what the org charts look like, because at least one of the departments had a police chief with just one direct report. So I would just essentially one direct report. So I would just encourage a lot of thought into the organizational structure that goes beneath that to ensure that we're optimizing all the resources and allowing everybody to be successful.
Yes, the org chart on page 11, yes, shows the chief and then an executive coordinator, which would be a direct report, and then a captain who would be a direct report. But this is obviously this is a concept. As part of the scope for the police chief search, we have the SGR is going to take a look at and discuss things like morale. They're going to look at some of our recommendations as far as the organization and do a little bit of extra work, I would say, as far as preparing the department and getting a lot of input as far as what this looks like. So we'll have some police specialty assistance in taking a look at some of these plans. And then the org charts, some of them are aspirational. So you'll see, like in the fire, especially on the fire side, where we've got several battalion chiefs. Those are over time as we open stations. So we're not going to just hire a bunch of battalion chiefs. We obviously need firefighters to be supervised by, at some point, you have lieutenants and battalion chiefs and so forth. So the org chart is conceptual on both sides at this point.
And so with the SGR consultants that would come in, are they coming in to provide specifics, and then that's when we would ultimately vote to split the departments, or we would need to give staff direction first to say, yes, we're ready to split, and then we would bring in SGR to kind of propose the final thing, but then we would ultimately vote on that one way or the other. Am I correct in that process?
So close. So what we would propose is discussion tonight, if you're ready. We'd have ordinances. We've got them all ready for next week. So once you all would pass the ordinances, that kind of splits that box into two boxes. So DPS becomes police and fire. Once that happens, now we have a police chief job. I would sign a contract to start a police chief search. And then we begin working with SGR, and it would be 3, 4, 5 months later, we'd actually have a person who would then be part of our budget process. But the budget process, of course, is already starting in April, May, June, and so forth, in July. So you all would take place as far as that would be your role is to in the budget process. But essentially, when you split the department, that gives us the go-ahead to start implementing everything.
And so you have those ordinances ready for the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll be in your packet. Depending on what you decide tonight, they'll go in your packet tomorrow.
Okay. Mr. Harper?
You keep saying police chief. I just want to make sure, are we doing the same with the fire chief? Are we doing the same at the same time? Or?
So if you look at the fire chief organizational chart, there would be a fire chief position. It's just at this point, probably not hiring a consultant to undertake a fire chief search. It would depend on how we organize the fire department, but it is possible in the current budget and in the current situation, I think, to potentially just do one search at the moment. The police chief being a very high focus position, a lot of community input and involvement as far as what we're looking for. So I think there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on that hire. Fire fire, a little bit different animal, a little bit smaller operation. So at this point, we could look at potentially internal candidates or maybe a smaller, less consultant-driven search as far as a fire chief and how that works. Okay. So it's just, we're trying to avoid potentially significant budget impacts and then significant changes as we can as far as implementation, and going slow and steady as far as splitting the departments, making sure it's strategic and also at the same time very tactical as far as who does what, who reports to who, who's performing what task, and that way we don't have duplication and extra administrative costs.
Mr. Hatley.
It's my understanding, essentially, the department is already split. I mean, pretty much. So you're just looking for an organizational, something, plan for the future. You're going to need, of course, the new DPS station, things like that. So why would you need to be able to do that, like, immediately? Why wouldn't it be more conducive to do it right around budget season, a little bit closer to budget season? We'll just say that because we are approaching it, but.
Right. Without a true splitting in the departments organizationally by the council, we would have to do it in the budget. So we can do it in the budget process. Absolutely, we could do it in the budget process. We would just be constrained. We could not do a search for a police chief because essentially the police chief job doesn't exist. It's a DPS chief currently.
Would you say it's kind of like, if I, just so I'm clear, visually, is it almost like our department of public safety is separate by all accounts, except for at the very little top here, there's almost like one more little thread, and to separate that little thread, it would become two separate entities, and then that opens up the opportunity to hire technically a police chief and a fire chief. We're just saying we wouldn't necessarily need a fire chief right now.
Well, we would undertake a fire chief search. It's just we could do it potentially a little bit lower profile.
Oh, okay, so it's not that we wouldn't do it right now, it's just it's not going to be as big as the police chief search.
Right.
And if we don't split that one little remaining fabric at the top or that little piece of yarn to officially split them, that, I just want to make sure I understand, that stops us from hiring a police chief for why? Because of?
Yeah, and maybe Jennifer can also help with the interpretation to make sure I'm doing this right.
Right, so right now in the Code of Ordinances, there is a Department of Public Safety with a director of the Department of Public Safety. And so Michael would have no authority to go hire a police chief because all he could hire is a director of public safety. And my understanding is maybe not all people who want to be police chiefs want to be a director of public safety.
So that's a complication. If in Texas, you have to have a certified fire chief to lead a fire department. And so a public safety department, according to the state, is considered a fire department. So you would have to hire someone with fire chief certification in the police chief essentially role or department. If you had a Department of Public Safety director, they would have to hold a fire chief certification. So at this point, we're stuck. We can't move forward with a recruitment for a police chief until we get organizationally fixed.
Because that head person would have to be fire certified as well. And okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you. Ms. Huffman.
Just in an effort to keep things simple for me, is the only budgetary impact then the salary for the police chief?
We would attempt to keep technically the budget neutral. And we do have a couple open slots, so I would work with the captain to try and rearrange as much as we could within the current budget. So we shouldn't have, if everything goes according to plan, we shouldn't have significant impacts to the budget. Ryan, would you agree? It would be about the same? We think we could come in about the same. Yes. So we're also trying to kind of do this with the existing budget. Now, of course, budget process is coming up. DPS could ask for additional staff that we're expected. And we talked about more firefighters. As far as building up the fire side, we talked about potentially more officers. So those requests will start coming in April, and then you all can work that through the budget process. One of the things we want to just a note is is currently the workload for the fire department. We're in good shape, but police department, a lot of the supervisors, which means the lieutenants, are performing a lot of administrative duties to help Ryan out, as he is essentially the captain and the acting chief at the moment. So as far as providing a good level of service, we think that we could sustain that with our current force, but it is ideal if we could start getting that in motion and start showing the troops that we're making some progress on a separate police department. I think that would do well for morale over there, and especially with the lieutenants who are performing a lot of other tasks, and get them back to where they can supervise their officers and be proactive.
Okay. Any other questions or comments or discussion from council? I'm sorry. Okay, so you're prepared to bring that ordinance and when I read this regarding preparation of an ordinance resolution and any other related, is it going to be an ordinance or resolution? What is it?
There'll be
an
ordinance. There'll be ordinances, yes.
Okay.
So we'll put those in, if there's no objections, we'll put those in the packet for next week. And we'll put an agenda item to approve them, if you wish.
Okay. Any objection?
I would prefer we move it a little bit closer to budget season.
Okay. What's our next, when would that be? Like in March?
I think he said April too.
If you put the packet on the February 9th, that would be, we can, and the ordinance, there's nothing that would necessarily stop us from, if we didn't want to move forward with it right then, to push it. That just allows us to actually see what it's going to look like. Is that correct?
Correct. You could table that if you wish to, or pass it.
Okay, Mr. Harper?
Yeah, I mean, if we push it any farther out, the 120 days is now going to be farther out, so it's even longer that these lieutenants are going to continue to do this additional work. I'm not sure what having it closer to the budget season would make a difference, especially when we start the process and we know that the new chief would probably not be hired until after the budget season started.
Ms. Chen?
I support expediting the process and assisting our officers in every way we can to give them the support that they need right now, not later on.
And
Okay.
I would tend to agree with that. If there's no significant budgetary impact right now, I mean, we can fit it in with current spending. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't move forward.
Okay, so are we good then with, Mr. Hatley, would you be open to, we will have the ordinances presented to us in the next packet, but we will also have plenty of opportunity for discussion on that to figure out what we want to do with it as a council?
To discuss it next meeting?
Correct.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, does that give you what you need, Mr. Kovacs?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Next is item 6, mayor, council, and city manager reports.
Okay, Ms. Chen, we'll start with you.
I just wanted to thank everyone who came out tonight and made public comments. They were heard loud and clear. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Harper.
Yeah, I would want to thank those who came out to speak tonight. I also want to thank Kyler Bramall for his award. Also Hunter Hall, Philip Sandlin, and Tyler Smith for their awards as well. I do want to thank the city staff, DPS, and everyone for all the weather-related work that they did over the last couple of weeks. I know it's been crazy. It seems like the city of Fate was frozen for an extra period of time. We had a lot of residents who thought we should get a snowplow, but I think that one, maybe we'll wait on that for next year. But again, thanks everyone, and thanks for city staff for all you do.
Mr. Kelly.
Congrats to Kyler on his Firefighter of the Year award, and thank you to Hunter Hall, Philip Sandlin, and Tyler Smith for their tenured service to the city. I also want to really commend the city staff, both Public Works and DPS, for the work done over the last week and a half with, excuse me, with the ice event that happened. I was out of town for a good part of this, significant parts of it, but keeping up remotely, and it looked like, at least from a citizen's perspective, outside of slick streets, everything was kind of a non-impact. Water kept flowing, and everything worked as it should. So congrats and thank you to everybody for all the unseen work that happens to keep a city running.
Mr. Manival.
I would also like to congratulate the Kyler Firefighter of the Year and the officers who received service awards, Tyler Smith, Hunter Hall, and especially Officer Sandlin, who was sort of my mentor on traffic enforcement. I rode along with him, and I think I've actually improved my fuel efficiency. My foot has gotten lighter since I rode with him. He's a serious officer there.
Thank you, Mr. Manival. Mr. Hatley.
I'd also like to congratulate sorry, barely see anything here anymore. I actually had it right here. I'm sorry, it's on the front page. Sorry, I lost my way here. Yeah, the Firefighter of the Year, Kyler. The Employee Service Awards, and congratulations to Hunter, Philip, and Tyler. Great job. And I'd also like to thank John Stacy and Brian McNeil for getting the Safe Haven Baby Box going and bringing that discussion to Fate and putting it in Mayor's ear. Thank you very much for that. And thank you to those that showed up and accepted the Teen Dating Violence Award. That's very, very important. But thank you for bringing the awareness.
And Ms. Huffman.
Okay, once again, I'm going to congratulate the award winners because that's very fun. Kyler Bramall, Hunter Halls, Philip Sandlin, and Tyler Smith. Congratulations to all of you. Also, we're now into Black History Month, so I want to highlight that for everybody, along with the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Those are two important things to keep in mind. I wanted to mention that the Agri Barn, I think, has an event this Saturday from 1 to 3. And I'm looking forward to going out and seeing what they've been able to do and maybe help promote some more partners for that initiative. And yeah, I'm glad it's warmer right now.
Thank you, Ms. Huffman. I, too, would like to congratulate our award winners. High praise from the captains on them, so that's well done. Please reiterate obviously, everybody on council recognized them. Please reiterate that next time you see them on our account. And truly a wonderful opportunity there. And yes, I am excited about the Safe Haven Baby Box, kind of moving forward with that. I hope that's something that our community can get behind. They did so in McClendon Chisholm, and I see no reason why we can't do it here in Fate as well. Mr. Kovacs.
Just to note that we have a council meeting next week, February the 9th.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
Item 7, in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.001, the City Council will recess into executive session closed meeting to discuss the following. A, in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. 1, discussion of council access to city information and any release of the same.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are reconvening at 9:12 PM. Ms. Vicky, next item, please.
Will any action be taken on items discussed in executive session?
Do I have a motion?
I would like to move to waive the deliberative privilege for the one recording made by Mayor Greenberg and the 8 recordings made by Councilperson Hatley in the last several months.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, any further discussion on the agenda item?
Yes, I'd like to make some comments on this before a vote.
Mr. Kelly.
First off, I would love for all the information on the tapes to come out. Without discussing my personal thoughts on them being done, why, whatever, I would absolutely love for the information to come out. However, there is information on those tapes that could potentially do harm to the city from a legal standpoint. As such, I will be voting against this, not because I don't want the information out, but because my job as a council person is to protect the interest of the city and the interest of all the citizens involved. And I think it's important that this information come out, but at this time, because of potential pending issues, I believe any vote in favor of this is putting the city in potential legal liability.
Mr. Harper.
And I would like to echo what Councilman Kelly said. The information that's in there, again, as council people, we are supposed to protect the city, and I believe that some of the information that exists in those tapes would do harm to the city, and I will also be voting no, and wanting to understand, anyone who does vote for that potentially will open up the city for liability.
Ms. Chen.
The exact same thoughts, and I also want to add that we have lost many employees, director level and below, very recently, and we are looking to fill those positions. And all of this, including things that were on that tape, all those tapes that were recorded, make it increasingly difficult to attract good people to our city. I will be voting no.
All right, any further discussion?
I would just like to add that I think holding on to these tapes, considering everybody talks about they should be released, is in the public interest. There's already public interest in wanting them released through public information. I think it's absolutely an insult to them to not do it. We've already had a public information request where the estimate was given at $4,000 for that. Nobody's going to be able to get an open record for $4,000 to be able to go pay for it. Unfortunately, I think if we do not release these tapes, it's going to look like we are covering something up. And one way or the other, we should not be covering something up, and we should not be advocating. We should let the chips fall where they may based off of the information that's on these tapes. I believe it is in the interest of the citizens of Fate to be able to hear these tapes in their entirety and not be drip, drip, drip by a social media Facebook page.
Thank you, Mr. Hatley.
Because that's weaponizing them.
Ms. Huffman.
I think it's important for us to have as much transparency as we can. I know that's a kind of a cliche word. I wish there was a way to release as much information as possible, but without potential liability for the city, if anything could be perceived as that in the recordings. So it's a tough decision.
I would like to say that unfortunately at this point, allegations have been made by city council members to other members of this body, or I should say about other members of this body, that not releasing this information would allow those accusations to go unchecked and unverified. And unfortunately, because certain allegations were made, had they not been made, I don't think this question would have to come before this body, but because very serious allegations were made, I think that our only appropriate and reasonable path forward is to release any information that would either substantiate those claims or invalidate those claims. So I will be voting for the release. Any other? Okay. Anybody need the motion repeated? Okay, please vote. This would be for the release of the, or say it again,
Yeah,
Jennifer?
Just to be clear, it's just a waiver of the deliberative privilege.
To waive the deliberative privilege. The motion passes 4-3 with Councilwoman Chin, Councilmember Harper, and Councilmember Scott Kelly voting no. All right, Ms. Vicky, next item, please.
Item 9 is adjournment.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-1 with one abstention. Mr. Scott Kelly is abstaining. Thank you.